Hey folks, my name is Jen, and today I would like to talk to you guys about everything that I plan on reading in March. It is quite a sizable stack for this coming month. The reason why this is such a big stack is because I'm hoping to take part in another readathon. And that is Middle Grade March. Curly Reader recently posted like an announcement video, and I also saw this on like the BookTube bulletin video too, but yeah, so I'll leave a link to the announcement video down below. But it's basically a readathon that focuses on middle grade books, and they're very big on, like, you know, you can, if you read like one middle grade book, you've basically participated. But they do have 5 prompts and a group read. The group read is a Rover story, but because I am trying to be very serious about my book buying ban, I am not going to be like purchasing and reading that for this month, although I did notate it on my ultimate like TBR list as something that I would like to check out in the future. But yeah, we have 5 prompts, and I have books that I have chosen for each of those 5 prompts, and then I have like a bunch of other stuff. So let's get into it. So the first prompt is to read a book that has won an award other than the Newbery Award. This was really hard to do because while I do have a lot of middle grade books that have like the whole big award thing on it, most of them are Newbery. There's only a couple I have that differ, but as I read one of them just last year, I didn't want to like reread it for this challenge. But then I found this other book of mine from childhood. It is Joey Pigza Swallowed the Key by Jack Gantos, and it is a National Book Award finalist. So Joey can't really sit still. He, I believe, has ADHD. I could be wrong about that. I have not picked this book up since I was in elementary school, so I honestly can't remember, but with the description on the back, it sounds like he has ADHD, and sometimes he ends up disrupting class, and his teachers want to send him to a specialized school. So this is kind of a glimpse at his life and feeling like everyone is telling him he's a bad kid, but he knows that he's not. He knows he's a good kid. So it's a little bit of a harder read, probably, I think. So yeah, I remember this being like a really big deal when I was in school. Like, this book was like a really big deal. Like, a lot of people were reading it. So yeah, I'm gonna revisit this for that prompt. The second prompt is to read a sci-fi or a dystopian novel. So for this, I am going to be reading one of my childhood favorites, which is Stinker from Space by Pamela F. Service. This is following a alien. He has been undercover against like his planet's enemies, and was able to grab some information that is vital for their like survival and defense against this other like planet, basically, and he's rushing back home to try to get this vital information to them, and unfortunately is shot down by his enemies and crash lands on Earth. And his body is hurt in the wreck, but his name is Stinker, and his race is able to project themselves into other life forms to save their lives. Basically, yeah, put their consciousness into another creature. And he ends up reaching out to the closest creature he can find, which is a skunk. And this is about his journey trying to find a way to get back to his own planet and encountering a couple of people that he is able to telepathically connect with, which happen to be two children. I loved this book as a kid. I reread this, I don't know, a handful of years ago and still loved it. So yeah, I'm honestly really happy to revisit this book again. Because yeah, like I said, this was like a major childhood favorite of mine. Prompt number 3 is read a book that has the sky or the sea on the cover, whether in the cover art or within the title. So for this one, it might be a slight stretch, but I have chosen Baseball in April and Other Stories by Gary Soto. You can see there is the sky with palm trees. So this is basically a collection of stories that follow a bunch of Latinx children in California's Central Valley. It's a pretty good range of stories. I think the one that I remember making the most distinct impression on me when I was a kid is about a girl who wants to be a marble champ. And that's the one that I think made the biggest impression on me. I can't really remember too much else about this collection, so I'm excited to like dig into it again, because I do remember, even though that's the only story I really remember, I remember enjoying this as a kid. Next prompt, prompt number 4 is a book with a neurodiverse character. So this is finally a book that I haven't read that's actually off of my physical TBR. And it's a book that I've been pretty excited to read for a while. And that is A Mango-Shaped Space by Wendy Moss. This is about Mia, who actually has synesthesia. And synesthesia is, I feel like I'm going to get this definition wrong because I don't have like an actual definition in front of me, but as I understand it, it is a condition in which certain pathways of the brain are linked in a different way than they are for like a lot of people, and it means that sometimes like different senses are linked, basically, is what I mean. So for this character, it says sounds, numbers, and words have color to her, and that is a specific type of synesthesia. There's also another type of synesthesia where I believe sounds have like a taste, like the person who has synesthesia will actually get like a flavor in their mouth when they hear something. There's like 4 different types of synesthesia. It's really fascinating, actually, and I haven't really read that much, or consumed that much media about it. So when I found out that this book existed, I very much wanted to read it, but I feel like I am not describing this correctly enough. I will look for one of the articles that I originally researched back in the day when I found out about this and was very fascinated. So I'll leave a link to what I'm talking about down below, and I'm sure I'll have a better grasp on it so I can, explain better when I do a wrap up and everything. But yeah, so this is about Mia kind of struggling with keeping this secret and also trying to get to a place where, she can embrace it and it's just a part of her. And the last prompt is to read a book published in 2022. So I looked through my shelves and I have not found any middle grade books that were published in 2022. And again, because of the book buying ban, I don't want to go out and search one out. So we're bending this slightly, but we're going with a book that came out in 2021, and that is Mari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston. This is another book that is off of my physical TBR. This book is following Amari, and she seems to be the only one who believes that her missing brother is still alive. The police have told her otherwise, bullies are taunting her about it, but she is super convinced, no, my brother is still out there somewhere, don't you dare tell me otherwise. Goes into his closet and finds a ticking briefcase, things get a little bit weirder. Within the briefcase is this like nomination for trying out for this organization called the Bureau of Supernatural Affairs, and she is super convinced that this is the organization responsible for what happened to her brother Quentin. So basically she ends up going there and trying to compete for a spot. It's basically up against people who have known that magic is like a real life thing their whole lives, and she's just learning about it now. So yeah, I'm very excited to get into this one too, because this sounds like, you know, we have some mysterious stuff going on and, you know, a magical tryout school element thing, so that's always cool. I'm pretty excited to get into this book this year too. Okay, then other than the middle grade March stuff, I decided I'm going to really make this month about middle grade. In fact, everything else that I want to read this month, except for like the last book, they are all middle grade. And I figured I could get away with this because they oftentimes are fairly easy reads or they're very thin books. So I think I can manage to get through more this month overall. I say this now. We'll see what happens. First up, of course, we have my monthly goals of reading a classic a month and reading one of my unfinished books off of basically my nightstand of shame. So for the classic of the month, I have chosen to pick up Understood Betsy by Dorothy Canfield. So this is following Elizabeth Ann, also known as Betsy, and she's always been kind of like a sickly little kid living with her very like sweet doting aunts, but at some point due to illness she is sent away to live for a while with her Uncle Henry on his like big farm in Vermont for like circumstances and also health-wise. She ends up discovering like this whole new world in like the country. So this kind of has like, I don't know, a little bit of a feel to it of like Secret Garden and like Anne of Green Gables, and you know, basically exactly the type of, I don't know, is this like a subgenre that I seem to be really into, is little kids being sent away to like the country and learning more about life and themselves and stuff. I don't know what it is. It's just something that I have found myself really enjoying a lot more over the past couple of years. So yeah, can't wait to dive into this. I was originally going to try to save this for like April or May, but I feel like, you know what, March is as good a time as any to dive into this. Then for my like nightstand of shame book, I am going to dive into The Thickest Boy this month, which is Inkspell by Cornelia Funke. So this is book 2 in the Inkworld trilogy. It's just continuing the adventures of the characters from the first book. The first book's about Maggie, who has always kind of grown up traveling around with her bookbinder dad Mo, and one day this mysterious figure called Dustfinger shows up and seems to know more about Mo and her like disappeared mother, and with his appearance basically opens up this whole new fantastical world revolving around this mysterious book called Inkheart. So I have read Inkheart several times. I have read Inkspell before, but I have never managed to get around to actually completing Ink Death, which is one of my 23 and 2023 for this year. So I started rereading this, I think like last year, in the hopes of getting around to Ink Death, and just never continued. So really need to finish this, get this out of the way so I can finally finish the damn trilogy already. Then The next couple of books are like big childhood favorites of mine that I'm really excited to like revisit again. First we have Ella Enchanted by Gail Carson Levine. This is a different take on Cinderella. I'm sure probably a lot of people have seen the movie. This is way better than the movie. I'm like, not kidding. The movie was a damn travesty. This, so good. I loved this book as a kid. I read this so much. Very excited to jump into it again. Then I also would like to get into The Egypt Game by Zulfikar Lee Snyder. This is also another book that I was super into as a kid. So this is about a couple of girls who end up becoming friends just due to circumstances. So April has recently moved to their apartment building and befriends Melanie and her younger brother. And April's a little weird. At first, Melanie doesn't think that they're going to get along, but then they find something in common, or a couple of things in common. One, they really love storytelling, and two, they have an obsession with Egyptian mythology. Pretty soon, they discover this abandoned, like, area in back of this A to Z curiosity shop, and soon they are transforming it into Egypt, essentially, and playing this game, and they start pulling other kids into the game as well. Meanwhile, there are some rather unsettling things happening around their neighborhood as well. I really loved this book when I was a kid, and afterwards also getting into like a phase of being super into ancient Egypt. So yeah, I'm pretty excited to hop into this as well. Then I would also like to do a reread of another middle grade book. It is City of Light, City of Dark. This is a comic book novel. The story is by Avi and the art is by Brian Floca. So this is pretty cool. So it opens up telling you about the island of the Curbs, which is actually basically Long Island. So this is like mythology about New York City, where human beings arrived centuries ago on the island and made this deal with these creatures who owned the island, and they have to create this like power ritual. They have to like do this like power ritual every so often to basically show the creatures, the Curbs, that yes, they, you know, acknowledge that you own the island and we're just renting it, basically. And this like shoots forward to modern-ish day and involves like these two kids into this mess. One boy who is hoping for adventure. He'd love to get out of the city. And then a girl who has ties to this pact. It is, I feel like I'm not explaining this well enough, but it's such an interesting read. It's such like an action-packed read. I really love the art of it. This is like one of my favorite books of all time, and I just, yeah, I'm happy to like get into this book again. And the last book that I'm hoping to get to in March is not middle grade. And that is Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. So my husband and I and a whole big group of friends try to get together like every year, and we rent this whole big place and do like this, basically like a gaming weekend, essentially. And I usually take a couple of books with me on the trip to just like read in, you know, downtime and stuff like that. And I definitely really want to bring this along because I feel like this book will be perfect for the atmosphere of our like getaway weekend. So This has been like everywhere on BookTube and Bookstagram, so I'm sure you probably already know what this is about already at this point, but this is following Viv. She was an orc warrior, and after a while she decides she doesn't want to be a part of that life anymore and she wants to do something different, so she opens up this coffee shop in this market town. She's got like rivals, new and old, that she's like dealing with. She has people that want to see her fail basically, because why would you open this, and also you're an orc, you know, stuff like that. So there's a lot going on, but it's also apparently just so wholesome and sweet, and it's kind of sounds like it's almost like a slice of life book, but in like a D&D world basically, and that is just so different than anything else I've read in fantasy. I'm pretty excited to get into this. So that is everything that I am hoping to get to in March. It is a giant stack, but like I said, most of these like books are fairly thin, so I mean I have a couple of chonkers, but for the most part they're fairly thin, so I think it is a possibility that I can get through, if not all of them, at least most of them by the end of the month. So pretty excited to get into all of these, especially since some of these are books that I loved as a kid and I haven't revisited them since then. So really excited to read them and see what I think about them now as an adult. And then I also have a couple of new ones that I'm just super jazzed to be getting into as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know if you guys are also taking part in like middle grade March or anything. I'll leave like a link to the announcement video in the description box below. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Thanks for always watching. If you are new here and would like to subscribe, please do so, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.